Hello everyone, Nathan here, and I wanted to talk to you guys today just briefly. I don't think I need to go that in-depth about it because there have been a lot of other people that have talked about it, and that is the blunder that is the Mass Effect franchise and just what they've done with that. And the Mass Effect trilogy, quote-unquote, remaster, if we're going to call it that. Let me just put this out there right up front. I had posted a video a while back that was talking about the announcement of the Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster and my tentative excitement about it. Well, I was right to be tentative because, yeah, I'm not getting it. But fuck that noise. I am not getting that. And I'll just go into that very briefly as to why. So, first and foremost, as a remastering goes, I'm just not that impressed. I'm really not, because I saw some screenshots and some video. I might have that in the background right now, I'm not sure. And it's, you can even do like a side-by-side comparison. To me, it doesn't look like a remastering. Like okay, compare that to Halo Anniversary or Halo 2 Anniversaries. Those are proper remasterings. That, my friend, is how you do a remastered game. Holy shit, like, that... 343 Industries has not done everything right. Halo 5. But Halo 1 and 2 Anniversary, holy shit, they nailed it. Like, they didn't really... From a technical standpoint, they didn't really do anything particularly special. They just took the game, exactly what it was, with the, with its engine exactly the way it was, glitches intact, and they just layered better graphics over it, and goddamn, it worked out great. It was very well received. I loved it. This is not what I see when I look at the Mass Effect remastering. I mean, Mass Effect 2 and 3 barely look like they were even touched. Especially with 2 and 3, there's no real huge difference. Not at least from what I've seen in the screenshots anyway. But even with Mass Effect 1, where there's, like the biggest and most noticeable changes, I mean, it just looks like a modern PC with the settings maxed out and maybe a few texture mods added. Like, it looks like something the modding community just came together to fix themselves. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised, and I can't say this because I'm a console peasant, I wouldn't be surprised if the Mass Effect modding community has already done that. I wouldn't be surprised if the game was already, quote-unquote, remastered by the modding community just with better texture mapping and, alterations to shading algorithms and stuff like that. And, they even said that they didn't really have the time or budget to change the character models. So let me get this straight. It's a remastering, but they couldn't change the character models? Like, they couldn't up the poly count, or they couldn't, like, what the fuck? How is that a remastering at all? I don't get it. It might sound like I'm unfairly ripping on them, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We're not at the juiciest part yet. One other completely unnecessary change that they've made is that the Eden Prime mission... Remember that Eden Prime mission where you first touch down and it's got the blood red sky, and it just... Oh, it was just... there was just a mood that came with that. Like, it was just this dreaded mood that came with that mission. You knew bad things were going to happen. You knew it was the start of something really terrible. Yeah, that's gone now. In the remastering, it's just a sunset. It's just a regular old sunset. Regular old unimpressive sunset. And it's just like, wow, way to kill the mood of that mission. And see, this is kind of the problem, because with BioWare, they might as well rename the company, because none of the original BioWare team is even there anymore. There might be maybe two people from the original BioWare team. Certainly nobody that worked on the original Mass Effect is there, clearly. Because, see, the Red Sky while canonically it probably doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't know. I haven't read all of the codex, but it's something the creative team put in place for a creative reason, and I think that should have stayed in there. You know, that there is something very creatively that was put in place that they removed without knowing why it was put there to begin with. And I don't think that's good. It's not a recipe for a good remastering at all. And even worse, it's going to get progressively worse to what will ultimately be what I consider to be the worst part of it. One of the other things is that the Pinnacle DLC won't be included. They're basically including all of the DLC except for the Pinnacle DLC. Now, personally, I didn't really like the Pinnacle DLC. It was basically just like, a station that you came to, and it would bring you into kind of this sort of arcade-style arena place where enemies would spawn, and you'd have to shoot them a certain amount of time, and you'd get a score, that kind of thing. It was basically like a place where you could, beat your high score kind of thing. And there was a set of high scores on there you try to beat yourself. I wasn't overly impressed with that DLC. But apparently it's not going to be included because the original source material, original files, original code, all that stuff is corrupted and gone, and they said it would just simply take too much time to recreate it. Well, would it? And that's kind of my objection to it. I mean, that's basically all it is. They could, again, I'm no programmer, but I feel like they could probably just reuse assets from the Citadel DLC for Mass Effect 3, where you've got something very, very similar to that, where you have like an arena-style shooter where you can, set up, a certain type of enemy to spawn in a certain arena, and you get a certain score based off that. I feel like they could basically take most of that to recreate the Pinnacle DLC. But again, they don't. They claim they don't have the time or budget to do that. And again, that's one that I could probably excuse because I personally didn't care about that DLC very much. But it just goes to show that, it's a remastering where you're getting less content. That doesn't make for a good remastering. But it gets even worse than that. And I'll preface it with this part. The part that I'm about to talk about next, some people have claimed that, that other people are saying that this one thing has ruined the entire game. And to be honest, I can't say I've seen anybody say that. Their argument is that seems to be a bit of a straw man, to be quite honest. So we'll get into what that is, and it's the elephant in the room. We all know what we're talking about. It's Miranda's ass. They're removing the camera angles from the game that are really ass-centric, essentially. And I think that is an unbelievably stupid decision. Because and to be clear, it's not like it's going to ruin the game itself. It's like it's going to make it unplayable. But that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is, it's supposed to be remastering. There's a million other things they could do, including maybe even rewrite some parts. And this was the thing that they decided to take the time and effort to make a change to, because you guessed it, those camera angles are problematic. Yeah, that's what we're dealing with. So we don't have a creative team that are looking to recreate the Mass Effect experience with entirely new graphics, with to blow players away once again. No, we got a bunch of soy-sucking weirdos that are terrified of nice asses that want to remove that shit, and it's just, it's just that shit that I mentioned in the previous video where I said I was tentatively excited, but I had my concerns. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This doesn't bode well. The fact that they would go out of their way to censor that content. I mean, it's so stupid. Like, they literally don't know why it was there. Like, I guess there was even a quote, like somebody had said, "Why is that focused on her butt?" And like, how is that a question? Are you that stupid? How the fuck don't you know why that camera angle was angled the way it was? Now, if it was if the camera angles were never there to begin with, I wouldn't be pounding my fist on the table saying, I demand more ass shots. We need more Miranda ass shots. I wouldn't be saying that. But the fact that it's there and now they're trying to remove it, very, very telling. Because apparently they also said that if they were to create a Mass Effect game today, or if they were to create Mass Effect today, that the Asari, as well as Edie's robot body, would be completely different or not there at all. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine a Mass Effect game without the Asari? One of the biggest, I was going to say biggest character, but not the biggest character. One of the most important species in the entire franchise, and they want to just wipe it or fundamentally change what they are? Because the thing is, much like Miranda, and we'll get into that, their sex appeal is actually very central to what they are. Because if you read the Codex, and actually there's a part in the game where they more or less explain that the Asari actually appear differently to whoever's watching them. Like, there was a scene where they were at the bar and they were all arguing over what Asari really looked like, and one of them said that they just look like blue Solarians. Another one said, no, they look exactly like blue Turians. Then the human, he said, no, they just look like regular people with, the tentacle things on their head. So the Asari appear are basically change how they look to whoever's looking at them to appeal to them. That's the whole point. And as far as Miranda, they very explicitly say that she was genetically engineered to be quote-unquote perfect, or as close to perfection as possible, and she even mentions her looks as being an asset to her as a Cerberus agent. It makes complete sense that she would be a shapely figure, and yes, that even she would wear clothing that is tight and revealing to her figure. And yeah, the camera angles, that's no brainer. It's fan service. They're just like, hey, I bet a lot of our fans would enjoy if we put the camera just right here, just down a little bit further. I bet they'd appreciate that. You know what? They did. Because you know what? There's nothing wrong with a little fan service. That's fine. If sue me, but I happen to like a little fan service. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if I like that. I'll. Oh, it's just so ridiculous. And apparently they are actually working on a Mass Effect 4. There is a teaser for a Mass Effect 4, and it's Liara, she crawls up a dead Reaper or something. Anyway, if that is what they're targeting for content, if that's what they've said about, the things that they wish they could have changed in the Mass Effect, because they basically alluded to the idea that they would have changed Miranda's body if they had time to do it. And it's just like, you know what? As far as I'm concerned, Mass Effect 4 won't exist. It's not going to be on my radar. I am absolutely not getting the remastered reduction, the Mass Effect trilogy reduction. There's no way I'm getting it. It's like I said, it's not about not having ass shots. It's about the decision. It's about the process behind that decision. It's very, very telling, and it doesn't bode well for a Mass Effect 4, let me tell you. Doesn't bode well at all. Mass Effect 4, fuck, this could be worse than Andromeda. It could actually be worse. And in a weird sort of way, I hope it is. I kind of hope it is, just so that hopefully these idiots that are trying to ruin the entertainment industry, or I guess more specifically gaming, that maybe they'll finally learn. Like they already had Mass Effect Andromeda almost cancel the entire franchise. If they royally fuck up Mass Effect 4, maybe they'll finally learn their lesson. But hell, I would like to be pleasantly surprised. I'd like to find out that, some actual leadership gets in there and says, yeah, fuck all that soy-sucking nonsense. We're making an actual game. We're making it good. That would be good for the franchise if that happened. That would be ideal, but that's very, very wishful thinking. I don't expect that to happen at all. So, in a way, this kind of goes back to my first topic video that I put out earlier in the week, where I was talking about, you know, preservation of content and archiving. So here's the thing: don't waste your money on this remastering. Don't waste your if you want to experience the Mass Effect trilogy the way it was intended, just go get the originals. I'm sure at this point, you know, that you could probably even catch it on a Steam sale. I bet. If you just went and hunted down the originals, the original Mass Effect trilogy, or, you know, you found them in a bargain bin for the consoles, I'm sure you could get the entire Mass Effect trilogy with all of their DLC intact and Astrots intact in the original form for lower than what they're asking for this remastered trilogy. I bet you could probably get it for a lower price. I could be wrong, but I bet you probably could. And hell, if you've already got the Mass Effect trilogy, fuck, if you're that eager to play it again, just replay the originals. Don't bother. Do not bother buying it. You've already got it. For the minor improvements, that they've made, there are several missteps that have happened in between then and release. So don't bother. If you want to experience a Mass Effect trilogy again, just replay your old copies. Hell, maybe I'll even do that someday. And I'll just mention, because it's worth it, at the top of my the description of pretty well all my videos now, I have a playlists link, which I'm still building it. I'm trying to make a page that has basically like a list of every game that I've played through, and then links to view those playthroughs. And so I've actually done a playthrough of the entire Mass Effect trilogy on my channels. The easiest place, just in terms of, you know, usability, just because, you know, as much as I gripe about YouTube, their playlists do function really well. But I'm actually building up the playlists on Fruit Lab for the Mass Effect trilogy. So that's a couple different ways you'll be able to watch it. So, you know, if you feel like you'd even like to just, you know, experience the trilogy vicariously, you can do it through me, because I've done a whole playthrough of it. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that rant. And I think I've gotten through all of the topic videos that I wanted to make. Pretty soon we'll be getting back onto the Let's Play schedule as per usual. I think there's one more topic. I think, if I've done this correctly, there's probably one more topic video to come out the next day, and then it's back to my regular schedule. So, before I rant anymore, see ya!